Mm. Jim, I didn't know if you wanted to introduce or I can just wing it. Pretty casual here. Uh, you should be able to unmute if you want.
No, I'll let you do the introduction. Just like to thank Dale for taking time to do this and welcome everybody to is this our second guest speaker we've had this year, Rick?
Yep.
So Stephen and Dale's, and we have Catherine Switzer coming up next month at the end of the month. So a good speaker series that we've created. And thank you, Rick, for following up on this and doing all the work behind it. And with that, I will let you and Dale take it away.
Awesome. And then, so I guess, we invited Dale because I saw him around everywhere and he always had a huge smile and he was running like crazy and, really just wanted to take some time to get to know him. A lot of the excitement of events, you bump into so many people, but so I guess tonight's an opportunity to dig in a little bit. And, as Jim said, thanks a lot for joining us, Dale. So, it's kind of like a living room type conversation tonight. So, just kind of, we'll go casual and roll through and then we'll open up for questions. I think a lot of folks know each other. So, maybe we have some background, but I personally want to dive right into the virtual racing. I know I've seen people post pictures on Strava and stuff, but you seem to be like a whole new level with the virtual racing with the Zwift stuff. You're in series, and so this was we're deviating from the agenda first question, but I don't know. I feel like you've really embraced the virtual life for racing and all that stuff. So I guess I'd be interested to hear what the experience has been like there.
Yes, I felt like I kind of had to. Going into last year, during my off season, I decided to change my training plan for triathlons to become a better sprinter. I focus on sprint triathletes, triathlons, and during once COVID hit, I stuck to my training plan to hopefully thinking that things would turn around within a month or so ago. But as we all know, that didn't happen. So during that training section, I actually improved my performance on my bike and my running and my swimming. And I needed an outlet for it. So I signed up for what was called the Ironman virtual races, which were true duathlons. There's like a run, bike, run. All the distances were geared to either sprint, Olympic, or half Ironman distance. And they actually did one that was a full Ironman. And yes, I did a full Ironman here in my basement. From the bike to from my treadmill to the bike, back to my treadmill.
Wow.
Was a long day. And after that, it was pretty much I needed more, so to speak. And most of my friends were already on Zwift, so there were some other platforms out there. So I chose Zwift to join. And once I joined Zwift, then it opened up even more, because not only do you have the average Joe on Zwift, you have professional racers on Zwift also. There's actually professional virtual race leagues now that happen on Zwift. So with that being said, I decided to do some of the series, and I got into this one series of duathlons where it was a 35-minute bike followed by a 15-minute run. And you would go as hard as you can, as far as you can for each one of those distances. And turned out I was really good at it. And I just kept doing it. It was a 6-week series, and you go as hard as you can for those time frames. And I got into it. The only caveat about virtual racing is internet dropouts. You never know when an internet dropout is going to hit you. And if it does, your session is pretty much over. And I was a little worried about that, especially during this my first duathlon series, which was over 6 weeks. And it just so happened I did my last duathlon last night. 2 hours after that, I lost the internet.
Oh yeah, that's good. I didn't even think of that. That totally.
It was gone, and then it came back on. And
Wow.
I cringed after that, because if I would have lost that session, that would have dropped me out of contention.
Yeah.
I ended up finishing in 3rd place in my age, just behind a guy from Northern Ireland and a guy from Germany.
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool because it's on a global scale.
That's the fun part about it. It's all on global scale. So you're not just competing against local people. It's people all over the world.
Yeah. And I mean, I know probably when the internet goes out, it's not like your power may not go out, but it'd be crazy if your treadmill power went out and you ran into the thing, and that'd be brutal.
Well, I've never had anything like that happen.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I guess I'm curious the experience of like, do you feel as though, are you able to develop a connection with people? Like, do people become familiar? Like, do you know the names eventually, or what does that look like?
Yes, especially during this last series, because you're competing against the same people week after week. And once you see where you are in the standing, you know who you're competing against. So then you start to follow those people on Zwift, and they will follow you back. And then we comment back and forth to each other. So it is a social platform. It is actually a game, but the game is turned into so much more. And I think the pandemic was just like kicked it into overdrive for the virtual.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Because it's affecting people all over the world.
Yeah. Yep. And then for those that are less familiar with triathlon, what would a Ironman distance duathlon look like, time or mileage wise, on Zwift?
Mileage is the same. There weren't any Ironmans on Zwift. This was actually on Ironman has a platform themselves.
Oh, okay.
To virtual races on. So I still continue to do those.
Yeah.
And it is the full Ironman distance. The run is the distance of a swim. So in an Ironman, the swim is 2.4 miles. So you would run 2.4 miles, and then you would bike 112 miles, and then you would come back, and then after the bike, you would run a marathon, 26.2 miles.
Wow.
That took me, I believe it would have taken me 8.5 hours, but I wasn't prepared for it. And well, maybe a little over 8.5 hours. I wasn't prepared for it. They kind of like snuck it in. It kind of like popped up 4 weeks before the event was supposed to go down. And I decided I was going to do it all in one day on my birthday. And I really wasn't. I had increased my volume over those 4 weeks to try and get ready for it. At the same time, trying to take some time to rest for it. And I got through 8.5 hours. My shoulders kind of like gave out on me. 14 miles into the run. And at that point, I decided, okay, I need to just tap out of this. So I was 8.5 hours in. 8.5 hours.
In the pain cave.
Yes. I mean, the way the race worked, you weren't required to do it all in one day. You actually had a whole week to do it. Okay. I decided I was going to do it all in one day.
On your birthday.
On the following day.
Yeah.
But I've done 5 half Ironmans. I've done all those all the way through. Half Ironman is half the distance of a full Ironman. So it's a 1.2 mile run or run or swim, then a 56 mile bike, and then you run a half marathon.
Wow. And then like how's it been with I don't know, I always found the treadmill sort of repetitive from an injury perspective. Like it's very consistent. Have you had any issues there, or how have you navigated that?
I have actually no issues on the treadmill. I actually, once I decided to get my own treadmill, I've been on my treadmill probably 8 years. And all of my training, I'm going to say 95% of my training is indoors. So I'm completely adapted to either being on my bike on the trainer or on the treadmill running. And for instance, just as a side note, I came home from one day from work. It was just a no frills Friday. Decided to stop at McDonald's, which I rarely do. Stopped at McDonald's and grabbed a Big Mac, some fries, and a Coke. It was sort of like a splurge day for me. And I had a workout. My workout only required, it was a 10-mile run. After the 10 miles, I felt good. And I felt like I was close to a PR for my half marathon. So I kept running. And I did PR the half marathon and said, okay, I still feel good. And I said, I want to do my longest run on the treadmill. So I said, I went on to 18 miles, got to 18 miles and said, I still feel okay, and did a full marathon on a Friday. 7:30 at night or so, I got on the treadmill with a Big Mac in my belly and ran.
Oh, that's amazing. That's something in it. There's something in it. It's like space food or something. I don't know.
But I'm feel like I've adapted so much to the treadmill that it just fits my running style. I put the incline on like 1% and I go. I can pay more attention to my stride and all those things, and can vary my speed without touching the treadmill by just lengthening or shortening my stride.
So Dale, this is funny. You got a room full, so to speak, of non-meat eaters, and you're telling us you got your best PR after with a Big Mac in your belly. So most of the people on this call are vegan or vegetarians, but you're promoting Big Macs, man.
Don't worry, Tim. We're gonna edit that out.
Everybody, not anymore. And
So I have a serious question. Dale.
That's my kind of diet right there.
It was the real Big Mac too, not the
mini Big Mac.
So I have a serious question too, Dale. So are you self-coached, Dale, or do you follow a training plan from a book, or do you actually have a coach that helps you?
I'm self-coached. I actually did follow a training plan last year that was supposed to lead me into last season. It was actually a Garmin training plan. And normally all my training plans have been geared towards sprint triathlons. And I decided I wanted to improve my sprint performance. So I signed on to a Olympic distance level 3 training plan, which greatly increased my volume. But along with that volume, I still kept my sprint speed. And that actually improved my performance. So what I had been missing all along was the volume that I wasn't getting all along. But yes, I'm self-coached. The reason why I don't have a coach is because I do so many different things, from triathlon to swimming. I'm also a master swimmer. So there are times where I'm not doing what I consider triathlon training swimming, when I'm doing more faster paced breaststroke swimming. So I'm a master swimmer, and my stroke is the breaststroke.
And I remember like the old school bike trainers, and it was like it didn't move like a real bike. Like, does yours move or something? Like how do you not go bananas?
I have an old school bike trainer. I recently switched and upgraded to what's called a direct drive trainer.
Mhm.
where there is no rear wheel. You connect the bike, the back of the bike, directly to the trainer itself. They actually have platforms that will rock and swing back and forth to allow you to get that motion.
Yeah.
I don't have one of those. As I get going, I have my bike on my trainer on a mat. So as I get going, the foam on the mat starts to crush, and then it lets the bike sway a little bit. Not a lot, but it sways a little bit. But if I want to get that full rocker motion, I can get one of those plates or make make my own to let the bike rock back and forth.
Yeah.
But I used to, I wasn't on Zwift for the longest. I actually recently just signed up on Zwift back in December. So up until that point, I just had regular software that would control my trainer. And then I would just look at the little line going across the screen for my workouts.
Mhm.
Now on Zwift, it's more interactive. You see things moving, you see people moving, you have things to judge off of. So that actually helps a lot doing that, both for the bike and for the treadmill when I'm running.
Yeah. And then like it sounds like, I mean, obviously you did a ton of training inside. How do you find this translates onto the road? And, you know, is it tough the first couple of weeks to transition to pounding the ground? What's that look like?
Right before I once the weather starts turning warmer, then I will get out on the road. I'll go to the park and run around in the park or something like that. But for the most part, the difference is obviously there's a lot more cushion running on a treadmill than, you know, running on pavement. So the first maybe 2 runs or so, I feel the achiness from the pounding on the pavement. But after that, then I'm good.
Yeah. And I almost wonder if with that volume, it's almost a little preserving of your joints, you know, to be on the treadmill, which may be a little less rough on the body.
I would say
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And then I see, maybe later you can give us a tour, but I do see some like strength gear and, you know, so like, do you have a complementary strength or stretch yoga, anything like that kind of does the maintenance type work?
There's like a month during the off season where I will lift the weights, squats, things like that, leg lifts. I have the bench for the leg lift, and I have resistance bands. I use the resistance bands a little more than I do with the heavy weights. It allows you to get more of a stretch using
Right.
no and have it be even versus swinging the heavy iron.
Yeah.
Trying to get too big.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Back when I was racing motorcycles, I had that problem where I was too big and could barely get into my leathers.
So with that, I am very curious about the motorcycle racing. Just, you know, briefly touch into that. I guess you did like the hardcore motorcycle racing with the leathers flying around the track. Like this was, you know,
175, 180 miles an hour.
nice.
Yeah. Back in my early 30s was when I started, late 20s, early 30s when I started racing motorcycles. I used to be one of those knuckleheads out on the road, zooming around Wednesday nights or some night, finding twisty turning roads, going a little too fast for everybody. And unfortunately, one of my, I lost a friend out there. And it was after that I almost completely got off the motorcycle, but I love motorcycles. I love being on the motorcycle. So I decided I needed a better outlet for my motorcycle. So I went to this racing school in New Hampshire and fell in love with it. Just being out the track, it's actually New Hampshire International Speedway, same place where they race NASCAR. And just being in what I considered a safe place to do the things that I love, which was to go really, really fast, was very appealing to me. And shortly after completing the school, I decided, okay, I want to race. and started racing and just got better and better and better, and quickly went from being a beginner to a junior expert to an expert to a professional racer. And I did that for 5 years. The last 2 of that, I was actually a professional racer. Got myself in magazines, a few magazines, was on TV maybe twice, 2, 3 times. And it was fun, but it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive. And once my daughter came along, it was time to put all that away.
Hang it up.
It was time, yeah. I had to go cold turkey. I knew if I go cold turkey that I was going to be back out there zooming around
Right.
yeah.
So I didn't realize till recently. I heard an interview with maybe a NASCAR racer or something, and maybe I briefly had a glimpse because I bought a motorcycle and rode it for a couple of years. I was exhausted after riding like a half an hour down Route 49. Like I got to the place and I was tired. So I always just assumed to grab the throttle and like it's like sitting on the couch, but I think it's a very, very physical. It's almost endurance if I'm maybe not reading too much into it, but it's tough, right?
And I have to realize that your heart rate's up. You don't realize your heart rate's up, your heart rate's up, but you have to muscle the motorcycle around. Even more so when you're racing motorcycles. When you first start racing, you're kind of apprehensive. You don't go as fast, so you don't have to muscle a motorcycle around as much. But the faster you get, the more you have to muscle it. Take, for instance, I went down to Daytona to race. And my first time out there, I was terrified of that track. I wouldn't get up on the banking, and I just motored my way around. Well, after I got used to it, I got up on the banking. And you come out of the banking, and the motorcycle feels like it does not want to stand up straight. So you actually have to force it to come out of that lean to get it to stand up straight again. And you use a lot of muscles. You have to muscle that motorcycle around to get it to go where you want it to go once you are going fast. There are situations where you will come out of a corner and the bike will be on the side and you go to lift it up. And once you become one of what I consider one of the fast guys, because you're muscling so much and on the gas at the same time, the front end will actually come up off the ground until you get it to come back down.
Wow.
From twisting it from side to side.
Yeah, that's epic. What do you think? Like, do you see any lessons learned from that influence your endurance, sport now? Like, what does that look like?
Not so much that influenced my endurance, but it influences my cycling. And case in point, I was in this one race in Cooperstown, and I'm on the bike, and I had just passed a guy, and I'm heading for this corner that I didn't know was a sharp corner. And as I'm getting closer to it, I knew I was going to have to slow the bike down and tuck. And as I'm lifting to go to the turn to the right, I'm on the brake, and the whole back end of the bike slid sideways. So now the bike's off sideways, and I released enough brake to get it to settle in and then going around the corner. Well, the guy that was behind me just happened to be one of my buddies. He thought for sure I was going down because how sideways I had the bike and the back end sliding around. But I know how to do all of that from racing motorcycles, because it happens all the time when you're racing motorcycles.
Yeah, I was going to say for those who haven't ridden triathlon bikes, they're not exactly meant to corner extremely hard. It's not the most agile hardware out there.
Not at all.
It's meant to go straight and fast.
But just having just knowing what the bike would do and how to counter that probably saved me from crashing.
Yeah. Are you still able to get that motorcycle rush somehow in your current competitive nature? At least to a little degree?
No, you don't lean that much on those tires.
No.
On the motor, put that knee on the ground. You get that thing sideways. On a tri bike, you don't have enough tread to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, for those like not familiar, I mean, the tri-bike tire is what, like, an inch or smaller. That thing is narrow. You're riding, it's like riding on an ice skate. Like, it's
And
not a mountain.
it feels totally different when you jump on one of those also. It feels like that bike just wants to go.
Yeah. Yeah. The gearing and
Feels like you're riding on a stick, because
yeah.
everything, you can see everything, and they're extremely fast.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I loved the pictures and kind of flipping around. It's really cool. And then, so I guess in any sort of event or whatever, like, say things get tough, say it's not your day, say you kind of, something happens, right? It's not perfect. Like, how what's that? Like, walk us through that. If
I've had several races that were not perfect. I had one where I had a whole season where I was cramping up in my races. Couldn't figure out why. Was trying all different kinds of things. Couldn't. The second to last race of the season, I cramped up so bad that it went from my calves to my quads to my abs. Everything cramped up. I was actually laying on my in transition. I was hurting so bad because I couldn't put my shoes on. It finally subsided. I got my shoes on. I went running out of the transition area, and the volunteers that were there that were helping was like, "You okay?" I was like, "No." So now I'm running, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this run. But being how I am, I won't stop until I cross the finish line. As I got going, I felt a little better and was actually able to run and pick up my speed and finish the race. And the guys that were there thought there was no way that I was going to finish that run. And it took that had been, to some degree, had been happening to me all season in just about every race, until I finally figured it out 2 days after the race. And it was the gels that I was taking. And I wasn't drinking water with them, because I can't take them when I'm on the bike, because I couldn't swallow them because they were so thick. I would take it all before the start of the race and then get out there and go. And it was like, I'm assuming what was happening, it would all hit my muscles all at once and then cause them to spasm. So the following week, I showed up in another race, and of course, my whole body was sore. But after that point, no more gels. I didn't take anything, and I was able to finish the race without any issues. So going into the following season, I just got rid of gels completely. But I knew I needed something, so I went out and found a water-based gel. It's called Sports and Science, and I take those now. And I drink water with them, but you don't have to drink water with those. And it's a lot thinner. It's not as sweet as the other gels, and that allows me to take those without having the issues that I had. So I haven't had cramping issues in a couple of years since that.
Nice. Do you remember, I don't know if you remember, but like when you're laying there on the ground and like, sounds like 60% of your body is not ready to move. And that's kind of the part you need. Like, what the heck? How did you get up and take those steps?
Well, because I was mad. I was laying there on my back, and I'm watching all these people that I passed on the bike come filing into the transition area. And it just physically got me mad and upset. And so once I was able to sit up, it was like, at that point, it's like, just see if you can get your shoes on. I got one shoe on. See if you can get the other shoe on. I got the other shoe on. Then after I got my shoes on, I said, okay, stand up. once I stood up, I said, okay, you gotta go. You gotta go.
I love it. It's
I mean,
always,
things happen. You know, I was in one race where it was a sprint triathlon. It was a 15-mile bike. And I got out on the bike and passed everybody and missed a turn. 43 miles later, I come running into transition, right? Transition. Got off the bike, went out on the run, finished the run, and still didn't finish in last.
whew.
Still beat people.
And I guess for those who don't know, a sprint is like less than 15 maybe, or 20.
On this particular race, it was a 15-miler.
So you went a little long.
I went a little long, but the thing was, I was not prepared to go that long. I have no nutrition. Water was gone. Everything was gone. And it was like, okay, it is.
Wow.
Finish it off. It happened.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Somewhere in there you mentioned there's no way you weren't crossing the finish line. Like, where do you think that comes from? What's that drive? It sounds deep, you know.
That the drive, I guess, is not wanting to feel like I failed. I mean, I've had a couple of DNFs. I had one DNF where I missed the loop on the run, and I crossed the finish line, and then realized afterwards that the person that was pointing the direction to go pointed me in the wrong direction. And when you have those, for me, everything in my head tells me not to let that happen again. So not finishing, to me, is a DNF, and in that case, because I missed the loop, it was disqualification. Now I've only had two disqualifications, one in a sprint triathlon and one in a 50-yard breaststroke event. And both times they kind of like made me cringe to the core because they shouldn't have happened. So not allowing those things to happen again is what drives me.
Yeah. Then you pick yourself up and head to the next one, I guess.
Head to the next one. After dwelling on it for a week or so,
Right.
then you don't stop dwelling on it until you finish the next one.
So it's lessons learned and integrate it.
Exactly.
Nice. That's awesome. You had mentioned the gels you had switched. Any other products that have really changed your running life or your sport life? Any favorite stuff?
Not so much as I don't take a lot of different nutritional things outside of just eating the foods that I eat. When I first started running, there was the big thing to, hey, you got to get more salt in you. You got to drink the pickle juice. And you have to, oh no, you're cramping up because you need more salt. You need the salt tablets. And I bought all those things and I tried all those things. And I realized through, I was on called Map My Fitness. And you track your food intake on Map My Fitness. And I realized that everything that I was eating had a boatload of sodium in it. So there was no need for me to take salt tabs or drink pickle juice or anything like that because I was already getting too much sodium as it was. So just having that and being able to see how much I was taking or getting from the different foods that I bought, I decided to change my habits as far as what I was eating. So I was eating a little bit better, finding low sodium things to eat. Low sodium snacks, all this kind of stuff, to where I wasn't filling myself up with so much. So
So it sounds like you keep it pretty simple.
yes,
Yeah.
I mean, all the things that I do, I don't feel like I'm overburdening my body. I'm able to do all the things I do and not feel like I'm taxed to the max afterwards. Like I said, I can throw down a marathon run and then show up for work the next day. No issues of any kind. I mean, the only time I've suffered any injuries was when I first started running, and my form was terrible, and I was running terrible, and I was a hill striker, and I was doing the development runs and running out of those hills in the switchbacks with my legs extended, trying to pick up more time and pounding my knees. And
Yeah.
I learned that.
Yeah, for some reason that coming out of there can be abusive if you're not careful.
Yeah.
On the food side, so Tim's already given up, who your audience here is. So tell us you eat a lot of vegetables and just make us all happy.
Oh, a ton of vegetables.
Nice.
I love one of my favorite foods now to eat is riced cauliflower and riced broccoli. I love those. And I eat a ton of salad. That's actually my go-to meal is salad. Different kinds of salads. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll throw some chicken or something in there, or some sliced deli meat. But I eat a lot of salad, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit, oranges, apples, grapes. I eat fruit every day.
Nice.
I load up my little food bag on my way to work after my bowl of cereal, and there's normally an orange, an apple, a banana, or some other fruit, in-season fruit that's in that bag that I eat while I'm sitting there at work.
Nice. Trying to think, what's the future look like? Obviously we don't know with the pandemic, but like say it breaks tomorrow, what are you thinking?
There's a race that I'm signed up for. That's the only one left on my schedule for this year that hasn't got pushed to next year. There's actually two races out there. One that I'm signed up for is in Geneva. It's a Ironman race, not a full distance, it's a sprint. That one's still on the schedule. Don't know if it's going to go down or not. They kind of wait last minute to let us know on that one. The other one that I was signed up for turned virtual is the Tupper Lake 10 man. That one I will do, but it won't be on site. I will do the swim at Delta and the bike at Delta and probably the run also at Delta. And there is the national championships, the USAT Triathlon National Championships in Wisconsin this year. That's in August. And they look like it's still a go.
Nice.
My COVID shot today. We'll get the second one in next month, in a couple of weeks, and hopefully the majority of people will be vaccinated by then to make these events a little more safer. And so it's possible that I may be headed to Wisconsin in August. Not sure yet, but it's possible. But then my next big event won't happen until March of next year, which will be the National Senior Games. And that's going to be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And so I'm hoping a pool opens up somewhere where I can get back into the pool. I got to get my swimming back up to par. Having a year off from swimming is just brutal. I haven't. I went 7 years swimming at least 2, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe 1 week off during the year. Like clockwork. I'm sure the people at MV, because that's where I swam and trained at, most people probably thought I worked there. I was always there in the water.
I did find an open stream up in Old Forge this weekend. Maybe you could swim upstream. It was very cold. Like my hand was numb.
Oh, no, but I have a wetsuit.
You got one too. You'll be good. Try to swim up it. That might work. Nice. And then, Jesus, they're giving you the vaccination. You're going to turn bionic on us, Dale. Like, I don't know. You're going to be unbreakable. And I don't know if you had a chance. I don't know if you had a chance to think about the billboard question, the classic billboard question. If you put anything inspirational on a billboard, you got anything for us?
If I had to say something inspirational, I would say, believe in yourself. You can do more than you think you can.
I love
Short, simple, believe in yourself. I actually have a little thing on my wall over here. It's actually under my daughter's. I used to coach softball.
Nice.
It's under my team pictures. We went one year where we lost every game. Every game, we lost every game. The following year, we won the championship.
Nice.
So, believe in yourself.
Nice. Jim's going to put it in the budget for next year for the Roadrunners. Start putting these things up.
You got it.
Well, awesome, Dale. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to call you a friend in this running community. I always love seeing you at the Skeleton Run, and we all love seeing you around. So,
Got to get my pumpkin.
got to get the pumpkins. That's right. Oh, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm going to hit stop on the recording here, and then we can do some questions if anybody has anything. But thanks so much for telling us the story. It's great. A lot in there.
You're welcome.